Okay, so this method, completing the square, is just a different method to solve quadratics. I'm just showing you all sorts of ways to get the solution, zeros, roots, and so on. So example 1, I want to find the missing value to complete the square. Alright, so I'm going to start off with x squared plus 14x plus something. Okay, to figure out what that is, I want to take half of b and square it. So half of b squared. Okay, so if I take half of b, well, half of 14 is 7, and I square that, I get 49 here. So that's my missing thing. So this becomes your x plus 7 squared. So we completed that square, which is x plus 7 times x plus 7. Okay? So that's our whole point, is to complete the square so we can solve and go forth. So example 2. I want to solve x squared minus 12x plus 5 equals 0 by completing the square. Okay, so the first example was just kind of giving us the process of how to get the number we're going to find. So the very first thing is I'm going to write x squared minus 12x, and I'm going to put that in parentheses, and I'll write this plus 5 over here. Okay. Now, whatever I add for this, I need to subtract from this side so that my equation stays balanced and it stays true. So, again, if I take half of negative 12 is negative 6, and I square negative 6, I get 36. So what I add here, I'm going to subtract on this side. That way my equation's staying balanced. I'm not changing it, I'm just altering the looks. Okay, well, this right here, because this is 36, becomes x minus 6 squared. Okay, and if I go ahead and combine these two, I'm going to get negative 31 equals 0. Well, now I know how to solve. Okay, so I'm going to add 31. So I have x minus 6 squared equals 31. Okay, how do we get rid of the squared? Take the square root. So x minus 6 equals plus or minus square root of 31. I can't do anything with that because it's a prime number and there's no perfect squares that go into it. So I'm going to add 6. So x equals, I'm going to put that 6 in front, plus or minus square root of 31. So there's my answer. So in this case, you could have also done this with the quadratic formula. Okay, the main point of this equation is it's helpful to get us into vertex form. If you remember, we had the x minus h squared plus k. We'll be talking more about that next week, but that helps us there. Alright, example 3. X squared plus 6x equals negative 34. Well, before I can do anything, I need to make it equal 0. So that you make it equal 0, I'm going to add 34 to the other side. And I'm going to do that same process that I did up here. So I'm going to have x squared plus 6x plus, leave a space. Okay, then I'm going to have my plus 34 and I'm going to minus. So here where I'm putting those two numbers that I'm going to get. So if I take half of 6, 3, and square it, I get 9. So that goes in both of those. Alright, so then this becomes x plus 3 squared. 34 minus 9 is 25 equals 0. Okay, if I subtract 25, I get x plus 3 squared equals negative 25. Again, to get rid of the square, take the square root. So x plus 3 equals plus or minus, the negative becomes I, square root of 5, or 25 is 5. So 5i. So now, to get x by itself, subtract 3. Again, put that negative 3 first. So x equals plus or minus 5i. Okay, here's a question for you. What if I had x plus 3 equal plus or minus 5? Okay, well, I would do that same process that I did over here. I would subtract 3, get x equals negative 3 plus or minus 5. And then, since these are both real numbers, I can go ahead and combine them. Since this was a real and this was imaginary, I have to keep them separate. But this becomes negative 3 plus 5 and negative 3 minus 5. So I have x equals negative 3 plus 5 is 2, and negative 3 minus 5 is negative 8. So I would have both of those answers. Okay? So make sure that if they're real numbers, you do go ahead and combine them, and if they're not, then leave them in that simplest form. Let me grab another sheet of paper. Alright, example 4. I have negative x squared plus 4x equals 5. And this, again, I need to make it equal 0, and I want to make my x squared be positive. So I'm going to add x squared and subtract 4x to move it to the other side. So I have 0 equals x squared minus 4x plus 5. Does it matter which side 0 is on? No, not really. Okay, so if I rewrite this, x squared minus 4x, I'm leaving a blank there, plus 5, and I'm minusing that there. So I have my boxes. Half of negative 4 is negative 2 squared is 4. So this becomes x minus 2 squared plus 1 equals 0. Subtract 1, so x minus 2 squared equals negative 1. Take the square root. So x minus 2 equals, well, that right there is I, plus or minus. Okay, because I took the square root, I have to plus or minus. So add 2, so I have 2 plus or minus I. And apparently this one is like number 20 on the homework. Okay. And then example 5, I have x squared plus 7x plus a box. Okay, well that's like example 1, what would need to go there? So if I take half of 7, so 7 halves, and I square it, that gives me 49/4. So that is the value I would write in the box. Okay, so that would be x plus 7 halves squared. Alright, the assignment for this is A18, page 289, 7 through 20. Please let me know if you have any questions, and good luck.